Hello guys, what is up? My name is Dylan. Welcome to the Popcorn Podcast. Welcome back, actually, to Theo Brown.
Yep.
Hello, hello.
One of the OG members.
One of the OG members, and it's fitting that you say OG because as you might have guessed from the title, we are going to be giving our sort of final Oscar predictions. As of when this episode is going to come out, the Academy Awards are just around the corner, so we felt like it was sort of a fitting time to discuss them and kind of go through each category and see which ones we think are going to win, which ones we want to win, and any snubs as well that we feel like should be in those categories from, of course, the year of film of 2023. So welcome back, Theo. It's great to have an OG member because the first episode of the podcast was Oscar predictions for 2023. So it's kind of a full circle moment. Of course, we don't have the other two OG gang members.
We've lost people.
We've lost people, but they're here with us in spirit. I can feel Pan was looming over me right now.
Yeah.
And he's never too far away. Well, he is. He's in Thailand.
Yeah.
He's working on something pretty cool, which we'll probably chat about at some point, hopefully on the podcast
definitely.
when he comes back. Some interesting stuff. So, so generally speaking, Theo...
Can I take these off because they're cutting out? But
go for it. So Theo's just taking off his headphones. No, so generally speaking, Theo, what have you taken away kind of from the award season so far? What is your general thoughts on like the winners, some of the films that have been nominated? Is this a good year, do you think, for awards?
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of the best years that we've had in a while.
The strongest years.
Yeah. If you consider like, Coda versus Power of the Dog, that's just like such a bad year. or King Richard, just like the quality, like those films wouldn't be nominated.
They wouldn't. No, they wouldn't make it.
So, but yeah, I just think in the award season in general, I think I've been like watching it kind of like sport. You know what I mean? Like the strategies, the marketing campaigns. Yeah. If you take something like F1. Mercedes has a big budget, like, I know they've got budget restraints, but the strategies and the same thing applies to like the Academy Award. Yep. People get annoyed because it's like objectively the best, but it's actually more of a sporting thing. It's more of like a gamesmanship.
Exactly. And also we do want to preface by saying, obviously, we don't truly believe Oscars or Academy Awards in general is necessarily the greatest telling of merit of films there is.
There's loads of factors. It's like marketing, campaigning, political, there's just a whole range of factors as to why like films are nominated or not. And it's just fun to see, if I was making a film, how I would
market it,
come in, market it, what time of the year, which actor I would sort of, cast.
It's interesting you say the time of the year as well, because I know obviously Oppenheimer being one of the big hitters of this year. Nolan said, like, he was asked in an interview, like, oh, so like, did you make this film with the Academy Awards in mind? And he said, which is very true, the release of his film was back in July of last year, which is well off the Academy season. So he's like,
and it's actually like when we watched it, we didn't think Cillian Murphy would be like the front runner.
Did you not think so? Because I thought there was a good chance.
Well, I just thought it was like so early on the year. He has to maintain like goodwill for the whole year.
Yeah, no,
which he has done, which is pretty impressive.
He has, and we'll get on to Cillian Murphy in just a second. But should we get into the categories then?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I've done these categories in basically no order whatsoever. This is very random. The first one I've got up is the Oscar for writing, particularly original screenplay. So the nominees are Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, and Past Lives. So I think there is kind of a clear winner here.
Yeah.
Anatomy of a Fall. Yeah.
It's been sweeping, hasn't it?
It has been sweeping. Written by Justin Triet and Arthur Harari. Yeah, this category seems to have this film basically has... It's been a hit on every single award show, Golden Globe, SAG Awards, and whatnot. I think it's a good script. Yeah. I think it's solid.
No, it's really good. There's one of my favorite things in films is like argument scenes. Yeah. And the quality of an argument scene, makes or breaks the film, Yeah. And I think, Anatomy of a Fall has like, one particular argument scene which like fully captures a marriage. Obviously Marriage Story, big argument scenes. You've got
Revolutionary Road.
Yes. Yep. Another one is what was Sam Levinson's film?
Malcolm and Marie. Yeah, that entire film is an argument.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I love it. And also, Friends with Benefits. Shout out to that film. That has a great argument scene as well. But yeah, it's one of my sort of things, and that's why I think Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's any in here that could surprise win, or not? Or do you feel like Anatomy of a Fall?
I think it's got it. I think it's got on lock.
I feel like the I want to say May December kind of has the second best. I think like it has a lot of interesting things in it that I haven't seen before. Yeah. So I want to say just for originality point of view, I like that script a lot. But yeah, Anatomy of a Fall, I agree with you. I think it's going to sweep this category. But moving on to the next writing category, we have adapted screenplay, and we have American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to take this one?
Well, the thing is, again, American Fiction has kind of been sweeping.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer is definitely in the running, and Barbie as well, actually. The thing is, I don't get American Fiction. I don't get that. So film.
Yeah, I saw it. I think last weekend. It was last weekend, was it? Yeah, last weekend, and I thought it was fine. Yeah. It was fun.
It's breezy.
It's very breezy.
But the plot kind of jumps. Oh no, we can't spoil it.
You can spoil it.
Like the mum dies pretty suddenly. Yeah. They get one of the sort of housekeepers gets married really quickly.
Yeah. So I feel like the strongest point of the screenplay in that film was more to do with the kind of politics and the comedy that comes with that, as opposed to the family drama aspect. I didn't think that worked that well, if I'm being completely honest.
The ending, I've talked about this a little bit, is like I'm kind of getting a little bit bored of like meta
endings.
Yeah, just meta, like it's done well in the sense of Babylon when it's sort of like a meta-textual.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's clever and like a good choice, but in something like Barbie, when they sort of break the fifth wall and go like, and they shouldn't have casted Margot Robbie in this scene. It's sort of, I just love films when they take the plot seriously.
Yeah.
And other than it's almost Adaptation,
like
which was like the original meta film. It's like a film. I thought that was obviously like very intelligent. And then I think American Fiction's kind of doing a little bit of that adaptation stuff at the very end.
Yes.
And it was a sort of, it's kind of like a big swing.
Yeah.
And some people liked it, some people don't. I don't really like that sort of stuff.
Yeah, like the ending of that film was just very meh for me. Yeah. I didn't leave the cinema like, ooh, yeah, like pumped or really taking much from the film. But yeah,
so I'd like to see Oppenheimer win.
I would too. I I think it's such, I think we spoke about this in the episode, but it's such a colossal task to be able to condense all that information. I think Nolan, he
wrote it in the first person.
Yeah, and he gets a lot of shit for a lot of his exposition in previous films and this and that. And like the dialogue problem.
It doesn't suffer from that in this film.
Yeah. And how he can't write female characters and whatnot. But I think this is such a dense,
and also he made
script.
some amazing choices. He had like the apple in the first scene.
Yeah.
I just thought that was really clever. Instantly seeing a tormented person.
Yeah.
He also had, the choice of having like the quote, I am death, the destroyer of worlds, be in the middle of a sex scene, which then gets later repeated. I just thought that was like, again, those are big choices, and I think they were working for the film.
Was that real life? Did that happen in real life though?
No, I don't think so. I think that was a creative choice.
Really?
I thought,
okay, cool.
But it also mixed sort of like the dread and Oppenheimer's sort of sexual sort of background as well together.
But it's also a metaphor for his relationship with her, isn't it?
And that actually, there was two, obviously plots in the film, which was like Oppenheimer's like anxiety around the nuclear, bomb, and then also his anxiety around the death of Jean
Tatlock. Yeah.
And when his wife says to him, you don't get to commit the crime and then feel guilty.
And then feel guilty. Yeah. It's a really interesting. It's a really.
And I thought that was just a really clever bit of the subplot and the main plot coming together.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think I would give it to Oppenheimer, but I think American Fiction is going to pick it up.
Yeah.
I would say this is kind of a jokey kind of snub, I feel, for adapted screenplay. But I don't know if you've seen it. I really liked Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
I haven't seen that.
I really liked it. Yeah. It's adapted from like a best-selling book.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it's a very light, breezy watch. But I don't know.
So if you take the politics out of it, would you, swap out American Fiction then?
I don't know if I'd swap out American Fiction. I would swap out... Oh, I don't know. Maybe this could be controversial, but maybe I'd swap out... I wouldn't swap out any of them. I think they're all...
It's just a good honourable mention.
Yeah, I think it's a good honourable mention. But I think, not the weakest, everything's good, but the weakest, or the one that relies the least, I would say, on script, is a Zone of Interest.
Yes.
Because it's much more about
the
the atmosphere created. But no, yeah, I think American Fiction is going to win.
Yeah.
So next up, we have visual effects. And the nominees are The Creator, Godzilla -1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Napoleon.
Yeah. Well, can we just give credit to Godzilla -1? Because
yes.
it's just like, it has like no budget.
It has zero budget. It's like,
and
million? Yeah.
I actually thought Mission Impossible like didn't look that great.
I didn't think
the opening submarine scene. Do you remember that? I think there was issues with the COVID situation, so they did a lot of like Dutch tilts and like close in.
Yeah.
But it kind of looked cheap. The film kind of looked a bit cheap.
So the thing I thought looked a bit cheap in Mission Impossible, and this is kind of a little bit of a issue I have with some of those stunts, is you have Tom Cruise doing these incredible stunts, right? Yeah. And you have also the BTS for it.
Yes.
In the marketing.
The BTS was more impressive.
There you go.
Yeah.
But when he's riding the motorcycle off the cliff, because I know that he's a ramp.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the ground.
Yeah.
And the ground looks so CGI.
Video gamey.
So.
And the train as well. There was
the train when the train's hanging off the cliff. Yeah.
The whole submarine first section of the film, there was someone who said like they could have cut that and just gone straight into the desert.
Yeah.
And I actually see like the submarine stuff wasn't needed.
However, I did think the submarine, the scene itself was one of the best.
It was quite scary.
Yeah. Yes, but
so yeah, Godzilla -1 obviously was great, and then I think The Creator. I wasn't a massive fan of that film, but visually, it looked amazing.
It's incredible.
And who's the director's name? What's his?
The creator.
Yeah,
Gareth Edwards.
Gareth Edwards. He was just on Corridor Crew, doing like a little visual artist.
Right.
So it was quite cool to see him like talk about it behind the scenes, and I thought they did a lot of really good work on that film.
And he is like being like one of the leading sci-fi directors. He knows his shit when it comes to this kind of stuff. I feel like The Creator's probably...
He's like a VFX artist, like turned director, and that doesn't happen often.
No,
ever.
And he's a Brit as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like The Creator's probably gonna sweep it.
Yeah.
So moving on, we've got sound design. So once again, we have The Creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, Oppenheimer, and The Zone of Interest. I feel like this is a kind of no-brainer.
Yeah.
The Zone of Interest.
Ooh. Yeah. Well. Yeah, Zone of Interest and Oppenheimer, they're sort of like the two competitive.
Yes, I still think it's going to be Zone of Interest without a doubt, because that entire film, the sound is like at the forefront of the storytelling of the film.
It services the story. Basically.
Absolutely, it's integral to the film in a way in which I've never seen a film do before. Like, one of the things I said when I was reviewing it, it was like the film is horrific, right? And part of the reason it was so horrific for me was the idea that you have all these atrocities going on in the background, and you hear screaming, and you see smoke erupting from these, and chemical fumes erupting from these things, and part of it is like a psychological kind of experience, because it's like, it's there. Yeah. So sometimes your mind is filling in those... It's
an experimental film in a sense.
Definitely. And like the very opening of the film is literally no visuals at all. It's just the score, isn't it? It's like telling you, it's like, this is going to be a very sound-driven experience. Pay attention to the sound. And and sure, like, you could even make an argument it's almost designed to win this specific award, and I think it will.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, that the sound, I've never seen sound.
Yeah. Well, Oppenheimer obviously has some really nice creative choices in the sound.
Nolan's sound is
cutting out for the actual explosion was pretty bold.
Yeah.
And I would just mention a few snubs quickly. So Ferrari,
I put that as a snub as well.
I haven't seen it, but it was nominated for a BAFTA over The Creator. And also another snub would have been The Killer. Yeah. Yes, because
someone asked me in a Q&A what I thought was before I'd seen Zone of Interest, what was the best sounding film of the year.
Yeah.
The Killer was incredible.
Well, Finch's films, like, just technically, the sound editing, like, they were all snubbed on all of the technical categories.
Exactly. And I feel like you can literally... the whole scene, the fight scene with the Brute in The Killer has such a mix of so many different kind of sounds, and there's a BTS documentary that they shot just for that fight scene alone. You can see all the sort of sound creation.
Well, Netflix do a great job at doing like the behind the scenes technical stuff. And there was also a sequence to do with sound, which was all about the opening scene in terms of the Smiths. And that was also to do with editing. There was like an edit line where you were inside the mind of the killer, and then there was like a line when you cut out and you can hear it from the...
It's really fascinating stuff.
They did a really great job on like the whole... So I to be honest, I would like to see The Killer in there, and maybe Maestro or the creator could sort of get swapped out, or even Mission Impossible.
I would even potentially. I mean, I don't think I would swap it out for anything. But John Wick 4 had pretty good sound as well.
And Society of Snow.
Oh yeah, Society of Snow as well. Yeah.
That was like a visceral sound design. It was. And also, like, with these technical elements, you don't really want to notice them too much, but you kind of want to feel them. So like when you're watching it, you want to just like feel the quality. But not be
you
like...
don't want it to take it out. You take out the story, basically. Yeah.
And that's what like Society of the Snow did. Was like, it was just visceral. Like the
I didn't love Society. We'll get to it, but I didn't love it. But next up, we have live action short film. I haven't seen any of these. But
no, neither.
The After, Invincible, Night of Fortune, Red, White, and Blue, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. Oh, that's the Wes Anderson film, isn't it? I still haven't seen it. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but so I can't really say which is going to win, but sounds like an interesting bunch. All the titles are quite cool. Yeah. And then same goes for animated short film. I don't know if you've seen any, but I haven't yet.
No.
Letter to a Pig, 95 Senses, Our Uniform. I can't even pronounce this. I don't know how to say this. Do you want to read this?
No.
War is Over, inspired by the musical of John and Yoko. Yeah, I mean, I'm more...
To be honest, like, it's very interesting how like short films get nominated. I have no idea how that
the sort of
there's just like
criteria.
Millions of short films like going through all these different festivals. How does it get funneled? You know, maybe it'd be something good to look into.
Yeah,
sort of.
No, definitely. And speaking of animation, next up we have animated feature film, and the nominees are The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So thank God, Spider-Verse actually, it was always going to get nominated, but I feel like
Ninja Turtles.
I would have liked to see Ninja Turtles, in there, but let's be honest, I think the main fight here is between Boy and the Heron and Spider-Verse. I feel like they're going to give it to Miyazaki.
Oh,
you didn't like The Boy and the Heron?
Yeah,
you didn't.
No,
you're not a fan.
No, like I'm.
Farah's gonna kill you.
Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. I love that film so much. That was basically my favorite film of last year. But The Boy and the Heron, I feel like...
Visually, it was, like, amazing. But I just thought in terms of, like... I consider myself, like, you know, decently, like...
Miyazaki.
Being able to follow along with the story. But that film just had me lost for, like, so much of it. Yeah.
Interesting. So this is... What was interesting for me was I watched that film... courtesy of you at the London Film Festival. And I had only seen one or two of Miyazaki's other films. And I watched Boy and the Heron. And I was like, cool, I really enjoyed it. I liked it. I don't really know how I feel about it just yet. And then, courtesy of Clara, I went on an entire Miyazaki run. And I was like, and I really sort of started understanding this filmmaker, who he is as a person, what he's trying to say about some things, and just his style of storytelling. And then right at the end, I watched The Boy and the Heron again, and I felt such a better sense of fulfillment. So I kind of went on a journey a little bit with this film.
It's more about his legacy as well.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah.
It's quite important to have that context going into sort of The Boy and the Heron.
Definitely. But yeah, I think it's going to go to The Boy and the Heron. I wanted to go to Spider-Verse just because I think technically that film is potentially the greatest animated film ever made. Like, I just think with the varying different styles going on, and it's also just a good film. Like, the story is great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. What do you think is going to win that?
I think Across the Spider-Verse is...
You think it's going to win?
Yeah, he's got a decent amount of goodwill in the Academy at the moment.
Cool. So next up we have production design. Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. So kind of my snubs here, I don't know if I'd, like I said, I don't know if I'd swap any of them out. Beau is Afraid and Asteroid City. That's what I'd have as production design snubs.
So my thoughts would be that Poor Things... Well, the difference between Poor Things and Barbie is Barbie has, like, you know, source material to look at, and it executed it, like, very well.
Yes.
So, like, but
are they judging it on how original the creations are, or how...
But if you're talking about pure, like, raw creativity, like, Poor Things is, like, amazing.
Yeah. I think it's going to go to Poor Things, I feel.
And then also, like, Oppenheimer, they did a good job. They did you see the Vanity Fair video, the production designer?
No, I didn't.
But it was really cool, like, to see the Oppenheimer production designer, you know, do a Vanity Fair, like, breakdown of her work, and the amount of work that goes into building Los Alamos, and like, and they had to like build the Oval Office in like a week.
Yeah, crazy.
Sort of like last minute thing.
And Gary Oldman was in there for like 1 day,
and the paint was still wet when they were filming. So like I appreciate like all the work. It's like very difficult. Like, you only really appreciate production design if you see the behind the scenes and how much work goes into all the details.
Yeah.
Because you want it to be subliminal.
Yeah.
You don't want to see...
You don't want it to stand out and have it... It's like most categories, though, as well. You want it to infuse you in the story.
I was watching It Follows the other day.
Yep.
And they were drinking, like, red cans of cola. And it was like the most jarring thing because they
like,
knew they couldn't get the rights.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I know what the pain, like we were shooting Big Dog and we couldn't like have Guinness, like a proper Guinness like logo on anything. So it's like, I know the pain of like having to like make the production design like in terms of the detail. But yeah, like my choice would be Poor Things.
Yeah. So next up we have music original song, The Fire Inside from Flaming Hot, I'm Just Ken from Barbie, It Never Went Away from American Symphony, Wajaje, A Song for My People from Killers of the Flower Moon, and What Was I Made For from Barbie by, of course, Billie Eilish. Right.
Well, actually, I think the competition is between I'm Just Ken and Billie Eilish.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's gonna go to Billie Eilish just because.
It's a shame.
Yeah, no, do you remember when I'm Just Ken won it? I think, what was it at? What did it win at? Which award show did it win at? Because everyone was like, oh, of course it's going to go to Billie Eilish.
Oh, I think it went BAFTAs, right?
No, it wasn't BAFTAs. It wasn't BAFTAs. It was...
Golden Globes.
No, it wasn't Golden Globes. It was the one between them. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. People's Choice Awards. No, okay. No. It wasn't even. What's the other
EGA. No, they don't do school and stuff. I don't know.
I think it might have been like the Gotham Awards or something like that. One of the award shows. But what's
Critics' Choice?
Critics' Choice. That's it. The Critics' Choice. I'm Just Ken won, and the viral moment is just Ryan Gosling like so confused when they read that song out as the winner. But the
thing is like with the Oscars and with like it just in general. The Elon Musk like quote, which is like the most entertaining thing should be the thing that happens. Yeah, it's sort of like a take on like Murphy's Law, which is like anything that can happen will happen.
Yeah. Where do we all know that quote from? Oh gosh.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm Just Ken would be like obviously the most entertaining.
Yeah, no, definitely. I want it to win, man, because I think it'd be hilarious. I think it'd be so funny, and I want Ryan Gosling to go up and do a acceptance speech. Like Mark Ronson, let him do his thing. But I think Billie Eilish is probably gonna win. Shout out to the Smiths in The Killer.
Oh yeah,
for just being there.
Cool.
So next up we have music original score, one of my favorite categories, as basically everyone knows. So first up we have American Fiction by Laura Karpman. Then we have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, John Williams, Killers of the Flower Moon, Robbie Robertson, Oppenheimer, Ludwig Göransson, and Poor Things, Yersin Fendrix. You wanna take this one first?
I'd say the Killers of the Flower Moon is pretty cool. It's a cool score. Good. It's sort of like the bass, the guitar,
heartbeat.
Yeah. And it almost feels like the whole film is scored in terms of just like an underlying tension. So I thought that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Things is super weird. It's like ding, ding,
it's like very plucky.
And I thought that was like it worked well for the narrative.
It's good, so because it reflects the state of mind of the characters.
Like the thing about the score is quite interesting. Like what would we like put in our playlist?
Yeah.
Versus like what's actually good.
We wouldn't be listening to this on the tube, would we? But
whereas Oppenheimer takes the dub in terms of like playlist. Like
yeah, I mean Oppenheimer I think is like one of the best scores. I mean, it's going to win the award. Let's be honest, it is. Ludwig Göransson's going to pick up his second Oscar here.
I think American Fiction that's a bit of a joke.
So
like I went onto the album, and it's just like a kind of a jazzy score, but it's just not memorable.
So this is the thing. So I watched American Fiction after it was picking up the nominations for score, and I was like, right, I'm interested because score is always a thing, like one of the main things from a film that I take away from. And Laura Karpman, I haven't been really the biggest fan of her previous stuff. Like she did like the Marvels and stuff. Nothing's really impressed me. I enjoyed the jazz score that she did, but I think it really...
It's not memorable.
It's not really, no. I feel like the good thing about this category, it has a wide variety of styles of music, which is cool. So you have a jazzy theme, then you have a classic sort of rousing orchestral theme from John Williams, who, by the way, let's be honest, they've given John Williams the nomination just for existing, essentially.
Okay, so there's a fun fact here. So John Williams broke the record for being the oldest nominee.
And he's got the most nominations.
The person he broke the record from is John Williams from The Fabelmans a year ago. So And then he's got 54 noms.
Yeah.
And the only person who beats him is Walt Disney.
Yeah.
With 59.
Yeah.
But will he get 6 more nominations before he dies?
But he's retired now, so he won't. Okay. Yeah. But yeah.
But he I saw some interviews with him. I was like 92, so I was like, see what he's like. He's like super sharp. And
yeah,
like,
he is.
Still
he's
like
very sharp. Yeah. He will move around like he's like Yoda.
Yeah.
But when you sit him down and speak to him,
it doesn't feel like a Hans Zimmer thing where he's like delegating it. He's like actually like doing.
No, definitely. But Oppenheimer, I think Oppenheimer won this category when the montage scene started playing in the film. Can you hear the music? It is one of the best like moments of music. And you know what? Something I found amazing is obviously, I mean, I think this is going to win Oppenheimer. It's going to be the first Nolan film that wins Best Score.
Yeah.
If you think about how incredible the Nolan scores
insane.
have been, Interstellar, Inception, Dunkirk.
Well, Tenet got snubbed for Göransson. Exactly. And so like it's a nice like little
revenge moment. Yeah. The only thing I'm a bit annoyed about with this score, and I have to say this, is the fact that Across the Spider-Verse was not nominated for this score. Yeah. That's my biggest snub.
We can bump out American Fiction. Across the Spider-Verse for sure. Like the anomaly is like so like
brilliant.
Terrifying.
Daniel Pemberton, like he did a good job with the original Into the Spider-Verse score. In this score, he goes off the charts, brilliant. Like there's a video that Sony released of just him in an interview talking through the creative process behind the Start a Band track in the film, of how there's elements of it at the start of the film and then it plays at the end of the film, and how that whole sort of thing comes full circle. How that piece is like all these different character teams fighting against each other, and it's sort of this one big dance. I loved that score.
It does have like when the is it the spot?
Yeah.
It has a very like eerie tone to it, and I think they needed that for that film. They really give it some stakes.
Definitely. Like so there's the spot has an eerie sort of destiny awaiting kind of theme.
There's a lot of dread.
Gwen Stacy has a very punk rock theme,
and that's how they leave the film. Like when you walk out like of the cinema in that film, you're just like, whoa. Like it feels like pretty scary.
Exactly. Yeah, shout out to Spider-Verse. I think it was a massive snub in this category, but I think Oppenheimer's picking this one up. Yeah, love to see the Oppenheimer in like live in concert. That'd be incredible. Next up we have makeup and hairstyling, and the nominees are Golda, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Society of the Snow.
Interesting. Ooh. So obviously Golda, they did a great job.
I haven't seen it, but
no, neither. But like I've seen like Helen Mirren sort of completely. It's one of those sort of classic like Oscar baity like makeup and hairstyling things.
I do want to say I did think the funniest moment in Oppenheimer, unintentionally funny moment, was when they cut like 10 years into the future and you see all of them so aged up. That was quite funny.
The one that didn't work on the like
was it Emily Blunt?
It was Benny Safdie.
Oh, Benny Safdie.
He looked the worst. That was the weirdest aging situation.
But it was also because Emily Blunt didn't shake his hand, so it was just funny, like just how that interaction went down. Makeup and hairstyling, I feel like it's probably it might go to Maestro. Be interesting going to.
I think it should. Like, I know there was controversy around his nose, but it'd
be even more controversy if it wins.
I think to be honest, the whole like I don't know, the kids signed off on the nose. Spielberg signed off on the nose.
Literally.
It seems all right.
Gosh.
But no, in general, I thought like Maestro was like pretty good for hair.
I think is Kazuhiro. He's the main sort of makeup artist on this, and he did the makeup for The Whale as well. Do you remember because we went to the premiere for Maestro at the BFI London Film Festival, and some of the sort of the
makers,
the creators involved, makeup and hairstyling and production design, whatever, they came on stage beforehand, including Leonard Bernstein's daughters as well, to sort of present the film, and I thought that was really cool. I think it's going to go maybe to Maestro. If it doesn't go to Maestro, it'll probably go to
maybe
Poor Things. Maybe.
I think they won the BAFTA, didn't it? Poor Things.
So next up we have costume design: Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I think it's going to go to Poor Things, if I'm being completely honest.
I think it was same for BAFTA as well. Costume. Poor Things.
Yeah, Poor Things. International feature film.
Well, the thing was, Barbie was the sort of second choice. In terms of. But again, I think it had like source
existing
material.
IP,
and they just executed on like amazing source material. But did it have like the creative flair of Poor Things?
It kind of shot itself in the foot a little bit. But
and then also like just a little shout out to Napoleon.
Oh, Napoleon.
He's just like, he looked immaculate, like, and like all of like the army looked immaculate as well. And
there were some really.
It was like a little bit of like, wasn't that like, they almost looked too good for the historical context. Like you'd have like more like it more rustle. So it had like a modern look on an old story, which I don't mind. I don't mind them like making things look good.
I mean, I think even if I did mind, it would be the least of my problems with that film. To be honest.
Exactly.
So next up, we have international feature film. We have Io Capitano, Perfect Days, Society of the Snow, The Teacher's Lounge, and The Zone of Interest. I want to say, obviously, the United Kingdom has Zone of Interest, but if it didn't have Zone of Interest this year, I would have put How to Have Sex in that category.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good film. I feel like
after. Wait, does United Kingdom count as international?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It's because it's just the whichever country, I guess. But I think the Zone of Interest is gonna sweep this one. You enjoyed Society of the Snow?
Yes. I did.
Quite a lot.
I watched it like obviously in comparison to the original Alive.
Right.
And I just thought it was really well done. Like I guess that was my context. I knew the story before. I'd seen the previous film.
So you had something to compare it to almost, yeah.
And then therefore like it like nailed it in comparison on so many technical levels, and then also as a story it like nailed it as
I think it's an amazing story. I didn't love the film as much as most people.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because I really felt a sense of detachment, because I feel like you know what it is? The frustrating thing is I can't pin it down to one thing, and I don't even know if the thing I'm thinking about is correct, but I just felt like it just looked so much like a Netflix production for me.
Yeah.
That it was
Netflix effect.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the cameras they're using or something, and it's such a harrowing story and a beautifully shot story, and I think on a whole it is kind of one of the better based on a true life sort of stories out there.
Is someone going to make a video on like why films look different? Because I feel like there's been like a shift. Like there's this like streaming look to certain films.
Yes, this is the thing.
Like Killers of the Flower Moon as well has a streaming look to it. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I feel like it might be to do with the cameras.
Yeah. Maybe it's digital. Like
the lenses or Tarantino's going to come back. Yeah, I fucking told you. So next up. So I think.
And did you see? Well, we can get to cinematography in a bit.
But I think we're both in agreement that Zone of Interest is going to win that one.
I think so. Yeah.
Film editing is next, and we have Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Snub, I think, is The Killer. I think The Killer was great when it comes to editing. Who do you think is going to win this one? Which film do you think is going to win film editing?
So, Jennifer Lame won the BAFTA for Oppenheimer. I'd say Anatomy of a Fall has a good shout in terms of like. I just thought it did really well, but I think Oppenheimer is going to get there.
So I think I feel like it's between Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon, because I mean Thelma Schoonmaker is like the GOAT of this. Oppenheimer, credit to Jennifer Lame for just the ability to condense that amount of information and have it be a coherent sort of piece. So and it seems like a colossal task.
Oppenheimer was a bit too quick.
Yeah, maybe.
It didn't really sit with too many scenes.
Yeah, no, it didn't, because it has to move on. Like it has,
And it was also like keeping up with the score, which was like moving as well.
The score, I think, they said somewhere that 3-hour film, the score was 2 hours and 40 minutes of the film. Wow. It's insane. Yeah. But I do also want to give a special shout out to The Holdovers, because I thought The Holdovers wasn't
paced
really well. But also, I know editing is not just all about transitions, but the transitions in that film were. I was like, and also, I like that.
I'd give a little shout out to Zone of Interest as a sort of just I wouldn't say like I would like bump it out for anything, but in terms of like this idea of like formal editing, which is like if you go back to like 1920s like Strike, which is like this Russian film, they would like cut between the strikers getting killed by the police and then the butchering of a cow, and it was like the contrast of imaging, and that's like this old school editing technique to sort of like make a point. And then in terms of Zone of Interest, like cutting with like a flower and then the sound of like
screaming,
a concentration camp, that in itself is an editing choice. that was very artistic, and I think like could get some recognition.
I mean, speaking of the editing technique that you just mentioned, the cross-cutting, I think like Lee Smith, who was Christopher Nolan's previous editor, used a lot of that. So it was Dunkirk, cutting between the different timelines. Interstellar, cutting between like Matt Damon and Matthew McConaughey fighting, and then back in that.
It's like a contrast, but it's like almost a contrast of images.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And
like,
one informs the other, and they both sort of heighten each other in different ways. Like they play off each other well. Yeah, it's so
as an artistic choice, I think Zone of Interest just had an interesting edit.
Yeah,
but I guess that was kind of more into the design of the film in general.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think The Killer obviously was a snub. But then Oppenheimer or Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, definitely.
And then also, just like, it's interesting. Editing is like a very subliminal thing, and so it's quite difficult unless you are an editor to know like what's like good editing.
Yeah.
Until you watch sort of Madam Web.
Have you seen it?
No, but I've seen these clips across the whole of the internet, and it's like the editing just looks horrific, right?
God, it's so. I just spoke about that. Don't make me do this again. Like, no.
But like that's when you can see like, you know, you can appreciate good work.
Yeah.
In comparison.
Exactly.
Like,
it's like you're watching a character, and all of a sudden you change the shot, and it's like what? Like you keep continuously being taken out of the film. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think we're saying Oppenheimer or Killers of the Flower Moon for this one, I want to say. So next up we have documentary short film. I haven't seen any of these. Don't know if you have. The ABCs of Book Banning, The Barber of Little Rock, Island in Between, The Last Repair Shop, and Nai Nai and Wai Pao. Haven't seen any of them.
Nope.
Documentary feature film, Bobby Wine, the People's President, The Eternal Memory, Four Daughters, To Kill a Tiger, and 20 Days in Maripol.
Yeah, so
You're a documentary guy.
I haven't done too well on the documentaries this year, but I did watch 20 Days in Mariupol, and that's getting a lot of goodwill.
Yep.
In terms of like the situation in Ukraine and Russia. It's a brutal documentary. Like if you want to like put yourself in the shoes of a Ukrainian and really understand what war is like on the ground.
Yeah.
It's a rough film, but I think it will probably get the win. It's been sweeping.
Yeah.
So
any special snubs here?
Yeah, still.
I was gonna say it.
Yeah, a Michael J. Fox film. Yeah. So I thought, did that get nominated?
I don't think it did.
No, it hasn't. It won a few awards early on in the year. So I think what happened with that is it did get nominated for a BAFTA.
Oh.
But yeah, it was an early release in the year, so I think it sort of fell by the wayside.
Yeah.
But I thought it was just really well done, and I thought, you know, I think it's directed by Davis Guggenheim.
Right.
And he did this really cool thing, which was intercut. I've already mentioned this before on the final episode, but intercut the life of Michael J. Fox with with scenes from his films that matched his energy.
Right.
Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it yet.
You got to check it.
I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch
It's good for like film lovers. Yeah. It's just like seeing the behind the scenes and like the life of someone told through film. I always find interesting. I just did a video essay on sort of life imitating art.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah. Yeah, no. I'll definitely check it out. I need to. This documentaries in general, I just do need to watch more of. I feel, but no, yeah, I'll definitely check it out. So next up, we have quite a punchy category. We have let's do cinematography first. So we have El Conde, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things.
Yeah. So
go for it.
So what was interesting? I watched the Thomas Flight Oscar video.
Oh yeah.
And he said he'd bump out Maestro for Past Lives. Which is really interesting because Panwa absolutely hates sort of like, well, I know he doesn't hate it, but he just thinks it's super easy and super like simple, like cinematography safe basically. But Thomas Flight's argument was that a movie more isn't necessarily better, and the minimalistic style fit the story, and the Academy should reward minimalistic styles if they fit the story, which I kind of get. But also I really like, you know, amazing cinematography with bold choices as well. And I think let's just give it to Hoyte van Hoytema because like, he's had 2 nominations. He's got a great career. It's like one of those like goodwill like wins. Like also it's very deserving for the best win. But it's also like a goodwill nomination win as well because listen, he done Her, Interstellar, Spectre, Dunkirk, Ad Astra, Tenet, Nope. Like he's a master of the craft. He is. And like this is his year. Yeah. Like let's bring it along. Like, you know, him, Nolan, everything.
No, I agree with you. I think the only competition Oppenheimer has is Poor Things.
Okay.
That's what I think. I feel like sometimes the Academy on the night, it's revealed that they do really enjoy the artsy ones and whatnot. And I think Poor Things
I think he's been sweeping.
He has been sweeping. Yeah. But I'm not gonna count out Poor Things completely just because I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like if there's gonna be a category that everyone's like, what? It's going to be this one. But yeah, I mean, I think Hoyte van Hoytema should get it as well. I mean, like, every film he does with Nolan is different as well. And this one,
there's certain nominations you kind of, certain wins you want as sort of like a career.
Yeah. But is that a fault of us though? Because aren't we supposed to be judging the films itself?
I know.
But yeah, so next up we have directing. So we have Justin Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest.
So it's big snub.
Big snub. Okay.
I don't really care about too much the Greta Gerwig. Like, there was a lot of sort of outrage on Twitter about her and Margot Robbie. Not being nominated.
I don't. Yeah, Greta Gerwig I could see in this category. Sure.
The thing is, when people talk about. People were trying to make it like a
we know what they're
female like exclusionary thing, right? But who are you bumping for Greta? Are you bumping Scorsese, Nolan, Lanthimos, or Glazer? You're just not.
But the thing is, most of the people who are like complaining about the Greta Gerwig, Margot Robbie snubs haven't seen the other films, so they don't really know what they're comparing it to. So.
The thing is, the top four like are kind of locked in. Like Scorsese, Nolan, Lanthimos, and Glazer are kind of locked in. So it would only be trading out sort of Gerwig for Triet. And Triet, you know, she won the Palme d'Or for Anatomy of a Fall. And Anatomy of a Fall is like very, very well directed.
Yes.
I think the Barbie situation.
You know what? Greta
It's
Gerwig.
super overhyped though.
What do you mean?
Barbie. Okay, so am I gonna get into this now? I was gonna I think about doing a video essay on like hype around films in terms of like film Twitter and Letterboxd, creating these like graphs of hype. You know when you see like films that it just doesn't add up.
Yes.
So Maestro, for example, has a rating of 3.2 on Letterboxd.
Yep.
And yet Pamwa, Mickey, and my friend Felix just love that film. And they think it's like amazing. And myself.
Can I say something though?
Yeah.
You guys are literally the only people who I've spoken to who like that film.
Maybe I'm like in a bubble of Bradley Cooper lovers.
Maybe it's all the film, like the filmmaker.
But what's interesting though is like when you go on to Maestro, right, and you go to like, because I think this is a directing snub for Bradley Cooper, because Maestro. So I'd say Bradley Cooper and Greta Gerwig are snubbed here, but if you go on to like the like negative comments on Letterboxd, it's all like Oscar bait, Oscar bait, Oscar bait. And I just think that's a weird criticism, because Oscar means good quality, and so therefore you're doing good quality to be nominated for good quality.
Yes and no. So Oscar bait to me feels like almost this element of like you're watching a film and you know there's a moment or a scene or a certain aspect of the film that is so technically good, but it's almost like the fact that you can register that is like, it takes you out of the story. It takes you out of that experience. For me, Maestro feels over-directed. That's what it feels like to me. I think the directing is good, but I feel like every single scene in that film is over-directed or over-acted in a way. Like it's pushing a sense of greatness that doesn't need to be there. That's why I feel kind of detached there. I like Bradley Cooper is great. Of course, I love Bradley Cooper as an actor, as a director. I think he's great. But I think like I feel like Maestro. No, I hate using the Oscar bait term.
I'm gonna go on the defense of Maestro, because I know like if Mickey and Pamwa and Felix are watching, they need like a they need like a
come at me guys. Yeah.
They need like a defender. Like a surrogate defender.
Yeah.
But basically, I'd say with the thing about Maestro is, for me, like the sign of good directing is if you can get me to like choke up a little bit. And it did it in the scene when she said, "There's no hate in your heart," after his sort of London orchestra scene. And that moment, and then also the ending, I just think it landed really well. And that was just good directing across the board. And I just think what's happened, I think, with what I'm thinking about doing this video essay is like how people can be swayed by film Twitter and Letterboxd in these sort of hype moments.
So you feel like
the context of something. I think
you feel like the backlash to Maestro is more so people jumping on a trend.
Yeah. Wait. I think if he's been memed heavily on Twitter, and then you watch the film with that sort of like perspective, you're going to give it more of a 3-star, 3.5 star, and then you're going to bring the rating down. Whereas if it was sort of spoken about, highly regarded, you would look for more of like the achievements
you would
within
have
the film.
Yeah. As in, if you watch the film, you look at it with a different lens, basically. Almost. You're expecting it. I mean, I think that goes for a lot of just hype films in general, for sure. Yeah. I think with Maestro, I think we're gonna have to agree to disagree, but I just don't think the story was helmed that strong. I didn't feel a sense of like I knew who the person was. I didn't like. I thought the best part of that film was Carey Mulligan, and yeah, the whole story, and Maestro is a film for Dylan. Like that is, if there was one film from the London Film Festival last year that I was gonna love, it was gonna be Maestro. But everything, I just felt a complete sense of dissatisfaction. I thought there were great things in there.
And
but
can we talk a little bit about Barbie as a piece of direction? Yeah,
I think I'm not gonna lie. I think Greta Gerwig, you got to give her props, because to helm that kind of idea is
well,
really
she subverted expectations. People just didn't know what she was going to do.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say with Greta Gerwig in the Barbie situation is that as a director, I think what you're meant to have is a clear thematic argument, like a clear, like, and it's been talked about before, but like something like Sicario is really good because you have the protagonist and the antagonist, and it's all about beliefs, and the story is like meant to guide you on this sort of journey of belief, and then the belief should change at the end, and that's what brings out a sense of catharsis. So for something like, a quick detour, but it sort of explains my point around the sort of Greta Gerwig situation. Basically with Sicario, she believes in like the rule of law versus like, you know, Benicio del Toro, sort of like outside the law and all of that. So that's the conflict, and therefore you see the pros and cons of both opinions. And that's what makes a grey area within a story, and that's what makes it sort of feel thematically rich.
Yeah.
And something like Avatar, for example, struggles in this regard because it just has good guy and bad guy, and it doesn't see the good sides of the bad guy and the bad sides of the good guy. And Nolan does this thematic richness really well in something like The Dark Knight. You see the good and bad sides of both the antagonist and the protagonist.
The sort of the thematic complexity.
Yes,
of it. It's like
that's there's a quadrant of pros and cons of both sides of an argument, and the more you delve in the cons of the antagonist and the pros, you know, the more you delve.
It's almost like weighing scales, almost like
and that's what makes something thematically rich. And the thing about Barbie is, you know, the thematic argument is patriarchy bad, and that's like the sort of message of the film. You can really get a sense of that within, like, you know, Ryan Gosling's character sort of going off and then coming back and turning everything into, you know, Casamigo, you know, Casa House or whatever he says.
Casa Dojo, yeah.
And so, like, I just felt with Barbie, it was just like, it was kind of had the Avatar thing of like good guy, bad guy, and then it was like very simplified, and therefore the nuance just
it's very black and white by the end of it.
But the thing is, it does well because it's funny. Yeah. And if it's funny, it sort of gets away with that sort of simplification. But in terms of like a rich sort of thematic like thing, it doesn't really have that. Yeah. No, and I know what you're saying, and I agree with you. I think, I feel like Ken, if Ryan Gosling wasn't in on the joke and wasn't hilarious, the film would have really struggled. Definitely. He sort of propped up the film by being funny and by being in on the joke. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna get. And the same with Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things, because they're in on the joke of the film. Yeah, they're part of the. They're built part of the satire. Yeah, exactly. And if those characters fail, then the film actually fails, because what happens is you start laughing at the character. Yes. Not with the actor who's laughing at the character. Yeah, no. Because like Ryan Gosling and Mark Ruffalo are laughing at themselves through their performances. I think they're really interesting performances because they're having to be misogynistic but laugh at themselves through that. No. But it's just I think Poor Things and Barbie both suffer from that oversimplification of those narratives, I think. So you feel like there is, at the end, basically, there is a sort of thematic resolve that is like, this is the thing. Yeah. The other stuff we kind of were sort of dancing around. Yeah, sure, it's there, but this is actually how it is, kind of thing, is what you're saying. Yeah. So it's like, you don't leave the audience with a question for them to answer. Yeah. The film answers it for you. Yeah, and that's the thing about the only reason I bring this up is because I'm writing a script at the moment. The key to it is you want to have your argument or have like a argument, and then you're meant to like look at the other side and then really make it strong. Make the other side as strong as your opinion.
Yeah.
And show the pros of the other side.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, then you risk being like a sort of slightly propagandistic. And this,
yes.
And my film Take 10, looking at it in hindsight, my short film Take 10. Anyway,
I'll leave it
I'm going off on a tangent. But looking at it on hindsight, I think it suffers from that sort of like not counteracting on the other side, and therefore it being a little bit simplistic.
Yeah.
And
well,
so
that's not to say that films that have this kind of like sort of simplified thematic structure are necessarily bad.
No, they're not necessarily bad.
Yeah, no.
Avatar, Barbie, like, and they're funny and entertaining and like all of the rest of it. I'm just saying in terms of like directing, Oscar nominations, there you go.
Yes. Yeah. So next up we have actress in a supporting role: Emily Blunt, Danielle Brooks, America Ferrera, Jodie Foster, and Davine Joy Randolph. Any snubs?
Supporting, May December. Julianne Moore.
So I've got Penelope Cruz in Ferrari, Rosamund Pike in Saltburn, and potentially even Rachel McAdams in Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. She was really good in that. But I feel like this one is a given.
Yes.
Divine Joy Randolph.
She's been sweeping.
Yep, she's going to get it. She was great. She was really good.
And her speeches are great as well.
Yeah, so they are very...
It's going to be like one of the funnest Oscars, like,
watch just to watch from a speech perspective. So next up we have actor in a supporting role: Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction, Robert De Niro from Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr., Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling, Barbie, and Mark Ruffalo, Poor Things. Any snubs? Charles Melton.
Yeah, Charles Melton.
May
December's been completely snubbed, actually. In terms of, it's not even nominated Best Picture.
Clara's like twitching out.
And then I would say it's quite interesting how there's a lot of comedic performances in this category.
It's actually kind of nice to see for once. Yeah,
it's good.
They're not going to win, but
also De Niro, just credit to him. Like, he's just so good.
He's good. He's good.
Of the Flower Moon.
The only other person I'd say was snubbed, or potentially snubbed, is THEO from Past Lives. Yeah. Like, a lot of the emotion that came from the film, I like.
And it was interesting. There was a little bit of an internal competition between Mark Ruffalo and Willem Dafoe.
Yeah,
and they went for Mark Ruffalo, which I think is the good choice.
Yeah. One of my friends hates Mark Ruffalo, that film. He just hates it. But Isaac, you're wrong. Up next, we have actress in a leading role, and the nominees are Annette Bening for Naiad, Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan for Maestro, and Emma Stone in Poor Things. The snub here is Greta Lee, Past Lives.
Yeah.
Now, the big battle here is Emma Stone and Lily Gladstone. The Battle of the Stones, Battle of the Eyes.
Well, it's a shame because I think Carey Mulligan would be my pick. I just think she's so good in Maestro. But in terms
she is good. She is.
I watched a bit of analysis on Lily Gladstone's performance because I didn't really get it. But now, after seeing that, I do appreciate how subtle, like her eyes. It's like all she's thinking.
It's all in the eyes, and that's the brilliant thing about these two performances is that I just released. Yeah, they're polar opposites. One is all, to be honest,
after that, I'm way more for Lily Gladstone in that sort of.
I think Lily Gladstone is probably going to win. I feel like it's a similar situation to Michelle Yeoh, Cate Blanchett kind of thing.
I find Emma Stone's performance a bit of like. Listen, she executes perfectly on the story and whatever it's being told. But in terms of like, I'm not like wow. In terms of she's like doing the baby walk and the sort of baby talk stuff.
I was blown away by Emma Stone.
Really?
Like, I think that film would potentially fall apart if it wasn't for her. I mean, I think that's the best performance of her career. Yeah, I loved her in that in Poor Things a lot, and just how that character sort of evolves from, like you said, a baby to like sort of a full-grown adult. How she has to sort of morph her body in a way to kind of fit those different ages of the timeline.
Maybe I'm just remembering the sort of early stages of the film, which were a little bit more like sort of like I can see what you're doing here. Like,
yeah.
You know,
I think it's going to go to Lily Gladstone, and deservedly so. I think she's absolutely terrific in Killers. Actor in a leading role, we have Bradley Cooper in Maestro, Coleman Domingo in Rustin, Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction.
Yeah, well, Cillian's been sweeping.
Cillian has been sweeping. We didn't say who's going to win Best Directing. I think Nolan's got to get it, man. He's got to get it. It's about time.
Yeah, I was looking, and
Robert Downey Jr. is going to get it, obviously. For
Nolan's been snubbed so many times, actually.
So many.
Interstellar, Prestige, Dark Knight Rises. No, Dark Knight. Yeah. And so, yeah.
It's his time, man. It's
time.
Yeah, it's a bit like Hoyte van Hoytema. It's like it's just
one of those sort of career wins.
Yeah, but Cillian Murphy.
Yeah.
You know what? I want it to go to Cillian Murphy, and I think it will go to Cillian Murphy. But like, it's one of these categories. I don't know why, but there's a small part of me that thinks the Academy are just gonna go, no, we're gonna give it to Paul Giamatti. I don't know. I just think.
Well, to be honest, they did sort of zig and zag on
with Austin Butler and Brendan Fraser. But yeah, Cillian Murphy. I mean. Yeah,
I think he's got the goodwill.
So he does. And finally, we have Best Picture: American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest.
Big snub.
My two snubs are The Spider-Verse and The Boy and the Heron.
Okay, yeah. I think just they don't appreciate animation
as much. Yeah.
It's a shame.
It's what Guillermo del Toro was saying. Was it last year as well? Yeah. This is tricky. It's another one. I feel like it's gonna go to Oppenheimer. Do I think Poor Things has a chance? Yes, I want to say so.
Also, I was thinking one other snub potentially, Godzilla -1, because if Top Gun Maverick got nominated, you know what I mean. I think both of those films have a similar executing well on the action and nailing it.
Yes.
Therefore, I think it could have deserved.
Yes. No, I agree with you. The only thing I think Top Gun Maverick has over Godzilla -1 is because it had the nomination for screenplay as well. Yeah. So a little bit more of the weight, exactly. But I think this is going to go to Oppenheimer. The Oppenhomies are going to get it probably. If it doesn't, I feel like they'll give it to Poor Things.
Yeah.
But aside from that...
You're going to buy some Oppenhomies merch?
I might, sure, if it comes out, because
he mentioned
to get it trademarked.
I went online. I was like, I want to buy some hoodies.
Yeah, so I think Oppenheimer's probably going to sweep this, and it's going to be, but that and Poor Things are going to go sort of head to head. But yeah, I think that is more or less it for a discussion on the Oscars predictions.
To be back a year later.
Thank you for coming and talking, giving us your predictions, and we shall see what happens on, I think it's March the 10th? Yeah, which we'll be doing another episode for. So definitely stay tuned. But guys, for now, let us know what you think is going to win, what your snubs are, etc. But yeah, for now, guys, thank you so much for watching, listening. Thank you, THEO, for coming on the pod again. And we will catch you very soon in the next episode of the Popcorn Podcast.
Cheers. See you later.